All right, my friends, J.R. Dukes with you. I appreciate each and every one of you joining me today. Let me know if you hear everything fine. I want to make sure we have good sound quality and good communication. Let's see, make sure everything is working the way it should be working. And just one more second. I hope everybody's having a good Friday evening, and I appreciate everyone joining me. It's always my pleasure for everybody to take time out of their beautiful Saturday evening and spending some time with me. And we'll say hello real quick. American Nana back again with me. I appreciate that from West Virginia. Thank you. And of course, we have Annette back. All right. I appreciate everybody. Let me know where you're from if you don't mind. Just go ahead. Kim, welcome again. Let me know where you're at. Let me know where everybody's from. We got everybody starting to pile in right now. So that's wonderful. That's great. Hope everybody had a great day. We down here in Florida, we were kind of getting hosed with all the rain. We do need the rain, so I don't guess I really can complain. Been a lot of news going on this week, right? Right. So yeah, I see everybody starting to trickle in kind of a hurried way. So wow, what a week of events! What a week of things going on right now. All right, 5 by 5, good. Everybody can hear me good. That's always good. I have 4 or 5 platforms I have to check because we are broadcasting live on Facebook, obviously YouTube, Twitch, X, and I believe Instagram has me too. Sometimes there's one or two other ones. Sometimes Rumble wants to work well. Sometimes it doesn't want to work well, so I just have to upload it afterwards. But it looks like we got quite a few people joining us right now. So, at any rate, we're going to start jumping right into it. I want to talk about a few different things today. I wanted to talk about the Fani Willis case, of course, touch on the New York case. I don't want to cram too much into one meeting with everyone, but I will tell you that very a very heavy news week. It does look rough for Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? But this guy always has a way to bounce back. And my personal opinion, and I want everybody to think about this and remember this when you hear all this bad news hitting him all the time. It's just Donald Trump. He thrives on adversity. I mean, I think that's one of the keys to success in this world is you have to bounce back when you're hit. And let's be straight up about it. He gets hit all the time. He's definitely not Mr. Congeniality, if you know what I'm saying. So he rubs some people the wrong way. We call those people Democrats. And it just is what it is. They just simply can't understand. Donald Trump represents a movement. It's not just a president. It's not just who's going to win necessarily this year. This man represents the way a lot of us feel. We feel angry. We feel like we're not heard. We feel that the government is essentially sticking it to us, that they are not receptive to what we want. We're tired of losing our freedoms. We're tired of being taken for granted. We're tired of being told that boys are girls, that girls are boys, that boys should compete with girls, and that this is normal. We're tired of being told how we educate our children and what they shall learn. We are tired of being basically indoctrinated every which way we turn around. And we're tired of being made like we're weird because we object to certain things. I mean, I don't know about you. I know right and I know wrong when I see it. I don't have to really go into a big explanation about everything. The the Democrats, the liberals nowadays, they just want us to conform to them. And I say enough. That's not going to happen. Not to this guy right here. When I see wrong, whether it's a Democrat, whether it's Republican, whatever it is, I'm going to call it out for what it is, wrong. I'm tired of this racism junk being thrown in my face every time I turn on TV. It seems like we have raised a generation of individuals that if they're anything that doesn't look like me, they claim that they are a victim of racism. And I'm tired of that. I firmly believe the legacy news media, at least in part, is to blame for this because what they do is they reward people that engage in this type of erratic and nonsense behavior. Look at Fannie Willis on the stand. one of the things that was the first thing that come out of her mouth and just making comments at the church, she's committing blaspheming inside a church. I have no idea why that church gave her that platform to begin with. Listen, when I go to church on Sunday, I don't know about you. I'm there. Generally, my preacher's looking after my soul. And trust me, he needs a lot of looking after, if you know what I'm saying. I don't ever remember being in the church building and the pastor is basically allows a politician to come in there and lie, or a politician to come in there and hijack the platform on some kind of nonsense. It's really shameful to hide behind this racism. And listen, let's call it what it is. When you're white, when you look like me, and someone says the word racism, most people like me, they just clam up. They just shut up. They don't want to say nothing because they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to have drama. They don't want people looking at them weird. And one of the worst things as far as words are concerned that you can be called is for someone to look at you and say you're a racist. Because when they say that, you're not sure how to respond to that. It's just like it's just the stuff you hear on TV. I'm just absolutely sick of it. Even the father of Fani Willis, and hopefully we'll have time to take a look at that here in a second. When he was on the stand yesterday, I guess, yeah, my days are running together. He's on the stand yesterday. One of the things that come out of his mouth is he goes, "Judge, I don't want to sound racist." And I thought, oh no, someone hit me with a door or something. I mean, I don't want to sound racist, right? I mean, is this nuts or what? I don't want to sound racist. So, you know what's next, right? He's going to sound racist. That's exactly what's going to happen. So he proceeds to tell the judge that something to the effect of black folks, black people, they are different. It's just weird. It's just weird. Black people hide money in their house. Folks, everybody hides money in their house. At least I've hidden money in my house. I hide money in my house now. And don't worry, you can come over and rob me if you want. Trust me, here in Florida, I have a few other things I carry with me, and we'll just let it go like that. I'm not worried about squat. I can tell you that I have a friend. He is Italian, and he's telling me his family, they always keep money. So, I mean, it's just weird that every time someone gets in trouble, they're in the public eye, and they're a minority. The first thing they do is they play that card. How about Bob Menendez? Remember him? The two-time felonious tried senator from New Jersey. I believe that's his name, Bob Menendez. And he looks pretty, I mean, I can't tell by looking at people necessarily what their race is, can you? And by the way, folks, if you don't know this, race is a man-made thing. There is no race. God did not necessarily divide us by race. There's a little bit of speculation on that because of a story called the Tower of Babel. But at any rate, we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. It's just that simple. I love what Dr. Ben Carson said one time. Dr. Ben Carson said one time. He said something, and again, I'm paraphrasing. He said that, and of course, remember, he's a surgeon. I believe he's a heart surgeon, he or a brain surgeon. He works on something, and he is just great at what he does. He's a very skilled individual and a very skilled surgeon. And what does he do? He said, "Hey, listen, when I don't think anything about someone's color. When I cut into them, we all look the same." And that's absolutely the truth. So I'll let that subject go with basically the following. When you see someone like my friend Bob, when he was accused for the second time of basically selling out his office, the first thing he said is something, "Hey, it's obviously people picking on a brown skinned man again." I mean, it's embarrassing. It's just absolutely embarrassing that they engage in this type of behavior. Would you be embarrassed to say something like that? I'd be embarrassed to say something. I don't know. I guess if I was facing prison, I guess I'd say whatever I have to say because who wants to go to prison? But it just looks so unbecoming of the man. Listen, if you're being tried, if you're in trouble, hold your head high. Be strong. Look at people in the eye. Hold your head up. Walk proudly. If you made a mistake and you're found guilty of it, do what you got to do. Move on. It just the way I look at life. If you make a mistake, you got to be accountable. And I think it's a great disservice to our children, to people that look up to us, just like Fani Willis. There's a lot of young black girls that will look up to someone like that, and all they hear is that if you're black, you're a victim. And that's unfortunate. On the Supreme Court is another example. We have Justice Clarence Thomas, and then of course that newest justice is what's her name, Brown Jackson, Katishi Jackson. Someone can put in the comments if you know the name, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. She's the other black lady that was recently appointed. And you know, well, why is it that people are appointed to that court anyways? Because they're black, or because they're a woman, or because they're a man, or whatever. Shouldn't it be the most qualified individual that's appointed? Right? What am I missing? Somebody help me. It's Katishi Brown. I'm certain that's her name, but it doesn't matter her name. There was a case recently had to do with affirmative action, and it was stricken down. And she said something to the effect of, "Hey, it's unfortunate that anybody with a thinking brain can look at America today, American society today, and basically come up with the premise that racism does not exist, that there is a difference between being white, between being black, between being Latino or being Asian or whatever." She just said that that is not really a credible position to have. And I love what Clarence Thomas said. He basically said the following, again, paraphrasing, I want to be accurate. He said, "Unfortunately, ma'am, you have made every black American a victim today because of those type of words, and it is extremely sad." And I have to say 100% I totally agree with him. And by the way, if you ever want to read a good book or listen to a good book, like one of those Audible, or what do they call them, ebooks, listening books, I love listening to that type of stuff. Clarence Thomas, I didn't really know nothing about the guy. As a matter of fact, I kind of had an impression of him that was not as favorable as the thinking I have about him now. His book is excellent. He narrated the book, and it is just amazing, his story growing up. And one of the reasons he despises affirmative action so bad, not just the things I've been talking about today, but what he said in his book, and it just really made my eyes awake to the situation. He said he has a law degree, and if memory serves me, is from Harvard. He says, however, everybody that looks at him and he says, "Yeah, I'm a Harvard educated lawyer," they think to themselves, they don't speak it, but they think to themselves that say something to the effect of, "Oh, he got that degree because he's black. He was admitted into Harvard not because of his merit. He was admitted because of a quota. Because he was black, he had to be admitted." And that's just the way it is. And that's one of the many reasons he despises this affirmative action nonsense so much. And of course, I feel the exact same way. Now, since the court did away with affirmative action, anybody have a guess? Oh, thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. Kentanjay Brown Jackson. Hey, listen, folks, one thing about my channel, if you come to listen to me, and Eric, thank you for that. I see everybody listening in now. If you come to this channel for lessons on vernacular or lessons on speaking correctly or doing things correctly, this is probably not the channel for you, because I twist and turn my words. And the older I get, the memory, let's just call it, I have Joe Biden moments. I mentioned that the other day. I can honestly say that I start speaking about one thing and then I'm off on a tangent. And I'm sure as we go through the night, you'll see me do that again. I try to stay focused. I have no problem talking. Generally, that's never a problem for me. Staying focused and not going down a tangent is definitely something that I would like to try to practice to be better at. But nowadays, the racism is called DEI, and I hope it turns into DEAD, because it just needs to die. It just needs to go away. And I'll sum up this conversation before we look at the first thing I want to take a look at today. Is we're going to what's the Chief Justice John Roberts said, again paraphrasing, that listen, if you want to put a stop to racism, you want to stop boxing people by their skin color, you're white, you're black, you're yellow, you whatever, if you want to stop doing that, and you truly want to have a society where race is not something that we look at, that we all look at ourselves as the brothers and sisters in Christ that we are, then what you need to do is real simple. You simply stop labeling people by their skin color, by whatever, and putting them in that box. And isn't that a simple situation? Food for thought on this. Have you noticed there's a black Miss America pageant? You don't see a white Miss American pageant. I think there's actually a Latina pageant. I'm not sure. I think I saw one day. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I'm just saying, think about that stuff. Doesn't that sound like it just puts a emphasis on being one color versus I don't know. I just think we should truly have a colorblind society. I don't have a problem with there being a black pageant, but at the same time, if there was a white pageant, you could imagine all the people in the street and everybody screaming racism, and that would strike me as wrong. And listen, I can tell you this: nobody wants to dare call me a racist or go down that road at all, because I can assure you, in my family, I got every color, everything you can think of. I have kids that are gay. I have an ex-wife that is black. Well, she's mixed, but whatever. All I can tell you is there. It's just not a fight no one wants to get into me with, because you're just not going to win it. I love everybody, and I treat people the way they treat me. It's just that simple. I am not a perfect person by any stretch of imagination, but I am tired of the race nonsense and that stuff being stuck down my throat all the time. So, well, we're over 1,000 viewers right now, so that's great. That's all the platforms combined. So, looks like I'll have to up the juice, so to speak, on StreamYard, because I think I top out around there. I'm not sure. We'll have to look into getting a higher plan. Which reminds me, if you like to help contribute to the higher plan, you know what to do with the super chats and thanks and whatever. And let me take a quick peek. I think someone dropped me in a super chat. Oh, yeah, Brooks Kelly. Thank you so much, sweetheart. I appreciate that. I always appreciate support on this channel. I know a couple of y'all supported me the other day. Y'all are great. It really helps out, and it's appreciated. So make no mistake about it. We'll go through the comments here a little later, and I'd like to know where everybody's from. I'd like to know what you're up to tonight. If you care to share it, I know you're listening to me, but if you got something special going on this weekend, we're a family. I think it's a good thing to share, right? So I'm always happy to do that. All right, so let me talk about the first thing real quick. I just wanted to mention, because I have made videos on this here. Have y'all seen in the news this guy? I can't say his name. It's in Russian. Let me roll down here so you can see the face. You remember this guy right here? He is. Let me check what we got here. All right, this is Alexei Nalavani. I practiced it earlier and I couldn't get it out. So thanks, Annette. He is a neurosurgeon. We're talking about the guy that ran for president at one time that I was mentioning earlier. Oh God, the memory's slipping again. Carlson, yeah, Carlson. He's definitely a highly respected neurosurgeon. So thank you for pointing that out. Okay, let's talk about this briefly here. There was a video that I showed not too long ago, and I was pointing out the correlation between Donald Trump and the way things are in Russia. And the comparison is striking. So I'll get into this, but this guy here was originally he was originally poisoned on an airplane. Y'all may remember that video where he's like screaming, "Oh, oh!" And I'm not trying to make fun of it. It was really dramatic on an airplane. I mean, he was wailing uncontrollably. They ended up taking him to a German hospital. There's photos of him with his hair gone, this type of thing. And fortunately, he made a full recovery. Now, this is a guy that's very committed, and he loves his country, Russia, very much, which is understandable. You know, you love your country, you want the best for your country. At least that's what we should all strive for. At any rate, he was immediately thrown into a prison about 30 miles outside of Moscow. However, that only lasted for a time frame. The Kremlin decided that they were going to give him a different accommodation. So what did they do? They ended up putting him in a prison that was approximately 40 miles north of the Arctic Circle. It's not exactly a Hawaiian vacation. It's the kind of prison, from reports that I read, it's very remote. It's very difficult to get to. And you could imagine they don't have the best heating system there in the world, if at all. Predictably, he was killed. His wife, his mother, I believe, is unable to retrieve his body. The claim is that he died of natural causes or something. I forgot what the Kremlin is officially coming out with, but obviously they don't want to give his remains, because we can see exactly what they do to opposition candidates. Now, I'm not saying that that's exactly the way it is in America, but let's be honest about it, folks. When you have the party in power trying to take out the main rival for presidency, aka Donald Trump. It's kind of striking, in my opinion. I mean, this guy was in prison. Now he's dead. You got Donald Trump charged with approximately 91 felonious type of crimes that are just absolutely just insane that they have that many cases against this man. I don't know. Well, what do y'all think about it? Let me ask you this. Put it in the comments so I can. I'll get to them when we read them here in a minute. Do you, in your opinion, when you see this going on with Donald Trump, is it what I think it is? I mean, do you see it as clear as I do that this is nothing more than a persecution, not a prosecution? It's a persecution of this man. And my deliberate opinion is that it is not really about Donald Trump. It's about you. It's about me. It's about our ability to vote for who we want to be the next president of the United States. And these liberals, these Democrats, in coordination with the Biden administration and their flunkies and associates on the federal, state, and every level conceivable, has conspired to engage in de facto basic election interference. I don't know what else to call it. It's just a shame. It's criminal. It's so blatant. It's so obvious. You're right, Lord. It is all by design. Yeah. Thanks, Lord. I appreciate that. It looks obvious to me. Now they say there's polls that if Donald Trump is actually convicted of an actual felonious type of situation, then that would change some voters. And I said, yeah, it probably would. And I got a name for those people. They're called Democrats. I just don't believe it. I think most people that are Trump supporters, like me, that if they indeed see something like this happen, I don't think their support's going to change. As a matter of fact, I think his support only goes up every time he's persecuted. And I love the way that Donald Trump I call him Donald Trump 2.0. I think this time around, he's a lot leaner, a lot smarter. His answers are more right on point. I think he's much more controlled. At times he looks like he's unhinged, but when you look at what he says, he's not unhinged. There's no way. But let's get back here. This Russian guy here says Russia's most significant oppositional leader for the past decade, Alexei Navalny, has died in the Arctic Circle jail. Okay, it was the Arctic Circle. The prison service has said. President Putin, most help me out with that. Oh shit. Okay. Well, he was a strict critic of his. He was serving 19 years on extreme charges that were widely seen as politically motivated. He was moved to one of Russia's toughest penal colonies late last year. That's what I was talking about when he was taken from the prison right outside of Russia, and he was moved. Vociferous. That's the word. Vociferous. Okay. Anyway. That's your word for the day, folks. As Bill O'Reilly would say, please opine. Okay, his wife has appealed to the international community to, quote, help punish this regime. One of his closest allies, anti-corruption founder, chief, said it was highly likely that he had been killed and that a murder had actually happened. Well, let's be honest about it. We know exactly what's happened here. This guy was only 47 years old. I'm sure he did not die because he was being taken well care of, if you know what I'm saying. It's quite obvious that he had this guy eliminated. And then the funny thing, too, if I can say funny thing, is President Biden promised 3 years ago very forcefully that if this individual ended up dying in custody, that there would be, quote, severe consequences, end quote, on Russia for his death. And of course, Biden is now changing his tune. He has a completely different outlook on the situation because he says that, this was before the Ukraine war. They're already being punished, blah, blah, blah. It's just interesting how he says one thing and then doesn't do anything. I mean, that's unfortunately, that's our president. So I want to show you this next video. This is what I was talking about that relates to this guy that was killed in Russia, because when I first made this video, it's been a couple months back probably. You have to look at my video list that's on there. Let me pull this up real quick. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is a young lady, and we have talked about this briefly before. At least I made a video on it. She is trying to run to be the president of Russia. Let's see how this goes here.
A Russian anti-war former TV journalist has been disqualified from running against President Vladimir Putin in an election next March. Yekaterina Duntsova wanted to run on a platform to end the war in Ukraine and release political prisoners. Video from the Central Electoral Commission showed members voting unanimously to reject her candidacy on Saturday because of alleged flaws in her application to register. Putin's critics said it proved no one with genuine opposition views will be allowed to challenge him in the first presidential election since Russia invaded Ukraine last February. They see the vote as a fake process with only one possible outcome. Duntsova told reporters her team had trouble finding a lawyer to certify the bid after dozens declined. When she said last month she wanted to stand, commentators described her as crazy, brave, or part of a Kremlin-scripted plan to emulate a fair election. In this interview with Reuters in November, she said, "Any sane person taking this step would be afraid, but fear must not win." The Kremlin says Putin will win because he enjoys genuine support across society, with opinion poll ratings of around 80%. Completing another 6-year term would make him Russia's longest-serving ruler since the 18th century, surpassing even Soviet leader Joseph Stalin. Putin's best-known opponent, Alexei Navalny,
There he
is
is there.
serving prison sentences totaling more than 30 years. His supporters say they don't know where he is, after they were told he'd been moved from his previous penal colony.
Well, remember,
Russian-
we do know where he is because he, as I said, after this video was made, they did find him in the north of the Arctic Circle. But this young lady right here, she really deserves credit. That you have to be extremely brave, extremely crazy to run. But let's look at the comparisons real briefly there. You got Donald Trump that says, "Hey, I want to be president of the United States again." He files his paperwork, and what happens? Boom, they take him off the ballot. I mean, you have people that it's kind of like this little committee that they have right here. You have people that think they know better than you or me. They simply say, "Hey, this lady's not going to be allowed to run." End of story. Just like they did with Donald Trump in Maine and in Colorado. And I believe there's a half dozen other states that actively have cases that are pending. So it's something to, just kind of take in. And there's another interesting correlation. The story reference at least according to the story, they reference that she tried to find a lawyer to help her out, but there were so many lawyers that told her no. And gee, I wonder why that would be, of course. And the comparison is even Fani Willis said the reason she hired Nathan Wade, at least in large part, was because she could not find any other lawyer that wanted to take this case. It's not an exact comparison, but I did find it interesting that they know, all these lawyers know that this case is nothing more than election interference, as I described earlier. So it is interesting, and it's sad how this lady was not allowed to run, and then you got this poor guy here that was the most popular Putin opponent. And unfortunately, he is no longer with us. I personally wish he did not go back to Russia after he recovered. I was thinking to myself, this is crazy. And of course, he's got a wife and kids and stuff like that. But it is what it is. And I want to say one last thing about Russia while we're on the subject. Donald Trump gets criticized heavily because he reaches out and he talks to our enemies, such as North Korean leader and of course, Putin. You have to talk to people. Why not talk to people? The Democrats will say, "Oh, well, you give them a platform and you give them credibility." Listen, this man that you're looking at on the screen has more nuclear weapons than we do. That may be a surprise to you, but that is true. They have more technical nuclear weapons than we do, which means weapons that are basically smaller. They're nuclear. They're designed more like for an actual war field, if you understand what I'm talking about, instead of literally just blowing up an entire city. Obviously, nukes shouldn't be used even in that situation, but that's generally what they're used for. I'm not a military expert by any stretch. That's what that's all about. So Donald Trump wisely realizes that, hey, I need to talk to the people that are our adversaries, and let's see if we can't find a way to work it out. I'm not saying Putin is a saint by any stretch of imagination, but I will tell you this, you could put someone in there that is worse. That is much worse. And we've had some very serious, crazed leaders in Russia before. So just something worth thinking about. So, all right, let's move on to the next little thing here, and that is what I kind of highlighted today, and that is very recently, like in January, and it's still going on because there's a lot of debate about it. Sweet Fani Willis, our sweet, loving, kind Fani Willis, she is now. And listen, I got a list over here. If we get time, I'll briefly go over to. But she, among her other serious problems that she is now facing in the Georgia House. The Georgia Assembly is what they call their state government there. She is, let me pop the right screen up here. Sometimes if I do more than one thing at a time, it doesn't go as well as I'd like it to go. Okay, so she is facing an impeachment now by the House of Representatives in the state of Georgia. So I want to take a quick peek at this. As you can see, Georgia representative introducing bill to impeach Fulton County DA Fani Willis. There are exactly 22 charges, if you will, against her. And they, among other things, they basically have included her or listed her as an individual that is in violation of her oath of office. And that's actually a crime. It's a misdemeanor crime on each count. So let's see if we can get this to work and how this sounds. So let's take a quick peek at this.
Fani Willis is back in the news today as the General Assembly is now taking a closer look at her. Fox Eye's Tyler Fingert is live at the state capitol with the details. Tyler.
Yeah, Kristen, good afternoon to you. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is facing attacks on two different fronts from state lawmakers over her election meddling case. Today, the Senate announced a new committee that will be investigating her, all while one member of the House wants to impeach her.
Georgia senators had a lively debate Friday before voting on whether to create a special committee to investigate allegations of misconduct by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis.
We've got better things to do. Let's see where the facts take us.
Willis is accused of having an inappropriate relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade and profiting from the prosecution of former President Donald Trump and others in the county's election interference case.
We want to know where is our money going, and that's what this does.
All we've heard is allegations, and most of it come from an ex-wife who mad.
Despite Democrats objecting, the resolution passed Friday.
The yeas are 30 and the nays are 19.
The special committee will swear in witnesses and gather evidence, but can't discipline Willis. The sponsor said this is about looking at where state funds went and if there needs to be changes in the future.
The reality is, as these new facts have come to light, it has caused great concern not only for us, but constituents all over the state of Georgia.
Political retribution is what it is.
Over on the House side, at least one lawmaker doesn't want to investigate Willis, but impeach her.
I'm doing my job because she didn't do her job. She brought charges against 19 people that really did nothing other than state their First Amendment right.
Representative Charlize Byrd from Woodstock says she still believes there was fraud in the 2020 election, despite state election officials not finding any. Democrats are shocked at what's happening under the Gold Dome.
We cannot succeed as a country with one of our two main political parties embroiled in lies, disinformation, conspiracy theories, and political retribution.
So far, no vote on that impeachment. As for the special committee, members are expected to be announced next week. I did reach out to the Fulton County District Attorney's Office today, but they told me that Willis had no comment.
You know, the thing,
Fulton County,
Georgia.
I want to talk about a few things right here. Some interesting points on this is the following. I would say you would have to remember that, okay, first of all, I love it when this guy goes, all we have here is allegations. Well, that's the point of an impeachment inquiry, is to get to the bottom of the allegations. It's just whatever. And then, of course, he goes something to the effect of, oh, we got better things to do. I don't know about you, but all I thought of was that country western song, that old one by Terry Clark. I got better things to do. It just kind of went off in the back of my head. It's hilarious. If someone brings an impeachment bill, it's voted on, it passes, then you have to go ahead and you have to have the hearing. Now, some of y'all might be thinking, well, this is just kind of gratuitous. It's just piling on. It's just adding on. Well, yes and no, but it has the it has a good possibility of going forward. And why is that? Because despite what you might have been told, in the state of Georgia, the Republicans rule. The reason why all this nonsense is going on with President Trump is it just so happens that Fani Willis happens to reside in a Democratic urban city, which is AKA Atlanta. So Fulton County is essentially Atlanta. It's basically a minority area. It is a Democratic area. And the problem for you and for me, and I guess for Donald Trump, is that the county seat is right there. The capital is there. So she has the jurisdiction, essentially. The venue is proper for her to actually bring a case like this, if it was a proper case to begin with, just so you know where that's going. That's what's up. Well, that is what that is all about. And because it is a Republican state, at least on a overall state level, the thing you got to remember is this. First of all, the bill has passed. There's more Republicans in the House. Also, there's a lot more Republicans in the Senate, and that's where she would actually be removed if it goes that far. So I just want you to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. She is facing a ton, and I do mean a ton of problems right now. Before we talk about the next thing right here, yeah, Free Willy, I like that too. I heard someone also say, and I mentioned something like this too. It was kind of funny. It's what you talking about, Willis? I heard one of the reporters say something like that. All right, let me briefly tell you this here. I want to just give you an idea what is going on in Fani world. I can assure you, just like she was jacked up in court the other day, she's not a happy camper. I'm sure and her lover boy, Nathan Wade, are not happy people. But by my count, I'm keeping track of this for you and for me. And I know it looks weird. It's the processor on this computer. If my hands disappears, I'm reading off my iPad. Just try not to pay attention to that. But by my count, she's got a lot of things to worry about. And I'll just briefly go over this with you. All right. As we just said, she has the Georgia State Assembly, the House, trying to impeach her. And of course, it's overwhelmingly Republican. You have an actual investigation going on in the House in addition to the impeachment vote. You have the Senate side having their own independent investigation. I think what they're investigating over there is the misappropriation of money that was sent to her to actually run her office. So they're investigating that. You have the chairman of the Fulton County Audit Committee conducting an independent investigation into the alleged misuse of county funds. When she hired Nathan Wade, Loverboy, she was technically supposed to go to the Fulton County Committee and get permission. That's the way that it's done. That's legally, lawfully, the way she was supposed to do it. But she did not do that in this case, and for obvious reason. All right. So you have the Federal House Judiciary Committee investigating Attorney Nathan Wade to determine whether federal money flew through Fulton County to him. And of course, this is on a federal level. And now Fani Willis is also being investigated by the same committee via Jim Jordan. And they got two things they're investigating there. They're investigating whistleblower complaints that were filed with them. And if she handled whistleblowers in a way that's not compatible with law, in addition to federal money that was sent to Fani Willis. Allegedly, COVID money that was sent to Fulton County was misappropriated by Fani Willis and her cronies. So, we're just getting started here, all right? Let me make sure I got my place here. All right, misuse of special fund. Okay, and then this I got listed here. You have a judge in the actual RICO case against Donald Trump and the 18 other defendants who, of course, wants answers from her now. So that's what's going on right now, the actual RICO case that you have. Nathan Wade is still facing his divorce from his wife of 26 years, Jocelyn Wade. No matter what the press tells you, they have reached a settlement as far as, it's kind of like a handshake agreement. This is the way it should go. But it's not over till it's over. And of course, Fani Willis is directly associated with that as the paramour, the lover, the whatever. And we've seen Fani Willis just go before the cameras, which started on February 15. Did you see the story on the whistleblower? We have talked about that, and I made videos on that. Not only is there one whistleblower that has come forward, and of course she's alleged malfeasance in the office, the Fulton County DA's office, she has other individuals that are lining up to come forward. What I heard, there was 10 or 15 other whistleblowers lining up to come forward. These events happen so fast, sometimes it's hard for me to even keep track of all this. There is a separate lawsuit that Ashley Merchant, who represents Mike Roman, who got this whole thing started. I mean, I just love her to death. Not only is she beautiful, she's so intelligent. And man, is she a beast in the courtroom. She's a little bit younger than a lot of the other attorneys, but man, is she really going to be a super lawyer after this is all done. She had the presence of mind to start checking out public records and typing in the names of the RICO experts or the prosecutors, and see, just to kind of see what kind of paperwork she can find. I mean, that is what you do when you investigate people. You just start looking. I'm really surprised that actually Donald Trump's attorneys and all these other attorneys that are being paid huge amounts of money did not find this on their own. When I'm investigating someone, that's always been kind of a tip 101 is I start looking at public records, especially here in Florida. We have what we call sunshine laws here, and almost anything and everything is available for inspection or to get a copy of it. There obviously are exceptions to it, but very few and very narrowly do they apply. All right, you have a watchdog group. The name of the group, I believe, it's called Judicial Watch. They have filed a lawsuit over DA Fani Willis and the romance. They are looking for records. They are alleging that they're looking for documents and payments that she has made to Nathan Wade. Basically, they're just putting the screws on this whole thing. They've asked for these records. She has failed to give them the records, and that's a violation of Georgia law under the open records deal. So that's just 2 on the open records alone. Obviously, she's facing criminal liability, in my estimation, because clearly they both have been caught in perjury. If you've been watching this trial this last week, how can you say that they were not caught in a perjury trap? I mean, I'll get into that in a second. I don't want to get off on that. She, of course, is facing disqualification off this case, and she may end up losing her license. She's going to have complaints, and I mean, there are already complaints and referrals to the state bar. I believe that Marjorie Taylor Greene has already filed numerous ethics complaints against Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. They could literally lose their law license over. So now listen, I'm going to tell you this, in my opinion and in my experience, I have dealt with the Georgia State Bar a little bit. Some states are very aggressive of policing their own and taking care of attorneys that go astray, that don't act the way they should act. However, not every state is like that. I call them do-nothing states, and Georgia generally is one of them. However, if you have a lot of press coverage and a lot of people saying like what's going on, then you might have a different situation as far as that goes. They may actually take a hard look at it. Finishing up here on this list, they have the criminal exposure for perjury. And Nathan Wade, of course, obviously has lied about his relationship with Fani Willis, not only to his wife, but to the court. That could be 2 separate perjury situations right there. And here's another thing that is very, very hilarious. She filed this RICO case, which is basically racketeering, internally corrupt organizations. It was designed for mobsters. We've talked about this too. It's designed for mobsters. It's designed for organized crime. She could be facing something like that technically. Fani Willis and her entire team at the Fulton County District Attorney's Office could arguably be wedged into some type of RICO case, and that's pretty well straightforward. It really looks bad for her. The investigations that I've done myself, I just want to make sure you understand this. I have seen old tapes of Nathan Wade and older tapes of Fani Willis, and I just kind of been reading the tea leaves. I think they have been essentially doing the same type of shady deals where it's what they call honest service fraud, or basically it's theft by proxy. She essentially lines Nathan Wade up and her friends up with all these lucrative contracts. She makes sure that the money, the jobs, the business are funneled to these individuals, and then she gets kickbacks one way or the other. And folks, that's just that's just illegal. It's criminal. The Department of Justice has thrown people in jail for nothing more than airline tickets that they have received by proxy. So, I mean, the evidence is really mounting on her right here. And you have the Georgia Prosecuting Attorneys Qualifications Commission looking into her. You have U.S. Representative Jim Jordan. She has had 2 or 3 subpoenas from her. The other day, she had the U.S. Marshals show up to hand her the subpoena because she was willfully avoiding the subpoena. So they took care of that. She's also being looked into federally, not just the state, but the feds on the whistleblower, not just the investigations of the whistleblowers, but her firing these whistleblowers when they spoke up. That's another potential criminal act herself. It's definitely a civil issue. There's no doubt about that. So that's what my notes are to date. And I'm continuing to take notes on that. I mean, that is just one heck of a list that I would not want to have to be that I'd want to have to be dealing with. I don't know. You may see it different than me. One final conclusion on the when it comes to this 22 charges that she's actually facing is that this is actually a criminal matter, at least potentially a criminal matter, and I'll show you why it is. Here is right off of the website of the. Let me see if I can blow it up a little bit bigger here for you. Let's see if that works. Actually, it's got to be this screen. Okay. Yeah. If you go to, it's not difficult to do. You just go to findlaw.com. You type in the Georgia Code Anointed, and we look up what's listed in her 22 charges as Section 1610-1. And this is, they update these things. I guess it's been updated a couple years ago, but it says any public officer who willfully and intentionally violates the terms of his oath, you should say his or her, but it's understood, of his oath as prescribed by law shall, upon conviction thereof, be punished by imprisonment for not less than 1 or more than 5 years. This is exactly what Fani Willis is being looked into. And all it takes is a referral for prosecution. It's just that simple. It's not difficult to do. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of any of this stuff. I mean, this is, how else can you put it in the other words? It's just really, really rough. Let's go to a few comments here, and then I got another subject I want to look at, and that is the testimony of Fani Willis. I can't believe how she walked into court. So, and I have some supporters here too. I really appreciate this. Thank you all so much for these, shout outs. What are these? Super chats, stickers, whatever y'all got here. It's appreciated. All right. Brooks Kelly, thank you. I tell woke idiots that my pronouns are go away. Yeah, I've heard some funny pronoun jokes. I'm sure y'all have too. Isn't that a mess? I'm tired. That should have been on my list earlier about what I'm tired of hearing. I'm tired of having it stuck down my throat, is that I have to treat people a certain way and address them a special way because they have decided that that's just the way it's got to be. And I have to change my life because I make them feel uncomfortable. What comes to my mind when I say that is like sports. My daughters, thankfully my kids are adults now, but it just gives me a cringe factor, a chill down the spine, essentially, to think of a grown man with male body parts, male genitalia, and he's in the dressing room with my daughters as they're trying to compete on their high school swimming lessons or their swimming competition. That just gives me the outright creeps. I really can't believe people are not speaking up about that. And it wasn't that long ago, the women's rights things. I mean, women have fought hard back in what they call women's suffrage, the right to vote. And I guess since the 70s, women have fought really hard for equality or whatever the words are. And, I think that a lot of that was taken to an extreme. But the point is things have been pretty balanced, I would say, recently, as far as men and women go. I don't want to go down this tangent too far, but all I want to say is that when these individuals are able to compete, it's setting back Title IX. It's setting back the accomplishments women and their supporters or the agencies or whatever. I mean, these people have worked really hard to achieve what they have achieved for women and girls and sports. And this is all undone when they're trying to be politically correct and they don't want to insult anybody. And that's what they end up doing. I don't know. All right, Derek Curtis, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Do you think the judge in the evidentiary hearing is limiting the focus of the indictment to avoid double jeopardy and a potential Willis impeachment? He's in a tough situation. And let me think about this. What do y'all think about it? It's a good question you got there, Derek. He limiting the focus of the indictment to avoid double jeopardy. It's possible. I will say this, the judge is in a very difficult situation, Derek. I want you to think about it this way, and I have not heard anybody mention this as far as the press or anybody is concerned, because what generally happens is you have a guy he's an elected official, by the way. A lot of people don't know this. He's up for re-election this year. So he's in that courthouse. He works with these people each and every day, including Fani Willis. He's protected by the police officers that are there. All the people that work for Fani Willis, that's essentially people that report to Fani Willis, all the people that the judge works with every single day. Well, imagine if he actually disqualifies her and Nathan Wade and the entire office. He's not going to be the most popular person in the courthouse. Has anybody thought about that? There are real consequences to this judge taking Fani Willis and holding her accountable. Not only is he up for election, I really have a serious concern about these judges that are elected for this very reason, because they know their jobs are on the line. This guy's a relatively young judge. I think he's only in his 30s. He may have kids at home that he's got to feed. He's got to support. And I don't know about you. I'd be thinking in my mind, hey, I don't really want to lose my job. These people elected me. It's a heavily Democratic area. I don't know. I think it's a definite concern. So thank you for the question, Derek. I appreciate it. And finally, Quidundrum. I like that. 22 years as a licensed attorney. I've never encountered an attorney with her mentality and bar etiquette. Yeah, no doubt. This is embarrassing. Miss or counselor, I will tell you this, that if it was me, and I have been in court many times, not as a criminal. I'm always careful when I say this stuff because I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. It's just in my lifetime, I've had like small claim cases. I've had other things that have happened, and I've had people that I just had to be there for one reason or another. Sometimes it has to do with tenants that I've had. It can be a whole list of reasons that I'm in court, and I try not to go to court. Having said all that, if I showed up for court and I acted anywhere like the way Fani Wade acted, I would be in jail. There's no other way to say it. I would definitely be in jail. I am stunned that the judge did not put the screws to her harder. And I agree with you, counselor. She was just acting inappropriately. I meant it's embarrassing. And do you agree with me? Am I saying something that is not within your experience? If you act like that in court, generally you're going to be held in contempt of court and you're going to be arrested. Listen, when I was much younger, I think I would have been about 20, 21. I had to go down and handle a little small claim case. It was in a different state. I think it was in the state of Texas. And listen, the way I remember it, I think I was acting appropriately and I was behaving. But 2021, I'm sure I was younger and I probably didn't use the best discretion. And it's possible that I was a little lippy. It's possible. And I'm just telling you straight up, the judge looked at me and he said, sir, if you say another word, I'm going to have you in jail. That's all I had to hear. I didn't want to hear anything else. I was just silent. That was the end of it. So I can tell you straight up, these attorneys, they risk going to jail anytime something like that happens. And I'll have to switch over and look at your comment here, but I'm just telling you, that's just been my experience. I don't know how she's getting away with this. She clearly thinks that she is special and that she owns the courtroom. And yes, it's embarrassing, and I am surprised that she has gotten away with that. No doubt. Thank you for your donation, and thank you for the question. And then my friend Michael, appreciate your support too, sir. Thank you very much. I think Trump is going to hire a private detective to after the entire Georgia gang. What do you think? I think so too. If Donald Trump is reelected president, as we all hope he is, I think there's going to be hell to pay. And I think it's justified. I've already heard him make comments. He'll say something publicly that I'm not looking for retribution. I'm looking to get things done. I'm sure all that's true. But you have to know in the man's mind, he's going to do something to this effect. I've heard wording to the effect of we need to examine our judicial system and we need to examine all of these prosecutors and the solicitors and stuff and individuals that make these decisions to charge people. We need to check on these individuals and make sure they're doing what they should be doing. And if they are acting inappropriately, then we need to take action. And I think that's what he's going to do. It's already happening to Fani Willis. You have Jim Jordan in that Judiciary Committee. He has already subpoenaed her and Nathan Wade and has said, "Hey, we need your records. We're looking into you," as I was saying earlier, the whistleblower allegations, the mishandling of the funds. That first whistleblower that came through told Fani Willis to herself, to her face, that, "Hey, what this employee of yours is doing is just illegal, period. He is misappropriating these funds. This grant is very specific. It's to be used for these kids that have special needs, or it's a special, it's just an allotment of money that was set aside for children that are poor," is the way I understood it. Their parents did not have a lot of money, and it was to help them with one thing or another. And yet, again, if the allegations are true, they used it to buy brand new computers for themselves and iPads and whatever. It was just misappropriated. So thank you, Michael. I appreciate that sincerely. So let me quickly go through and welcome everybody that has joined us today. Like I said, it is definitely humbling and a pleasure. I realize that every once in a while something good, I hope, comes out of my mouth, and you'll find it entertaining and enjoyable. I try to do the best I can. I know, and it's my hope, that I can express things in such a way that you might not have thought about before, that you may think to yourself, "Oh, wow, that's an interesting way to look at that." I think I am going to take that into calculations as I move forward with thinking about things or just whatever. So, all right. I appreciate everybody joining me. Hello to Collins. Let's see. By the way, folks, in the chat, if you haven't done so already, hello, Mark. If you haven't done so already, just make sure that you follow the common sense rules. I try to keep everything PG. You don't have to agree with me. Just be respectful, be polite, treat others as you want others to treat you. I think it's pretty well straightforward. We don't have to really drill down on this. The profanity and stuff, I'd just rather not have that in there. It's just something that hurts the algorithms, this type of thing. We just don't need to do that. All right, SMR whistleblower. Hello from Marine, or how do you say that? Moreno Valley, California. I love visiting California. It is beautiful there. Hey, my friend Steve from Alabama. It's good to see you again. We got Iowa in the house. My friend Brooks again. Oh, all the way from Australia. I love that. I love how this technology is that we have stuff from all over the world. People from all over the world. We can all come together and have a chat. It's great. Hello, Michael. I appreciate you being here. Houston, Texas. I used to live there when I was growing up as a kid. Bradenton. Nice to see everybody today. I'll try to go through these so we don't take too much time on them. I just want to see if I see any questions in here that I can see. Yeah, I love Trump for being real. In my eyes, he's our only hope. Yeah, I feel that way too. I think a lot of people feel that way. I think a lot of people look at Donald Trump as a big middle finger. They're tired of taking it, and they want things to be better. So I think that's exactly what it is. Kim, thank you for that information. Many of y'all responded. My brain doesn't always work the way I want it to work, so I appreciate y'all taking time. Let's see. Ivan, one of my businesses wasn't too hot under Obama. Trump came in and gave me some cash, 15 to 30 G's boosted. Yeah, and many ending up shutting that business down. Yeah, dude, just keep on swinging. If you lose one business, just keep swinging, dude. Sometimes in life you fail, folks. It's just the way it is. You look like a younger man right there. I've had many things that I've lost. You try something, it doesn't work out. You go back and you try again. You just don't give up. You have to always just make the decision in your mind that you're going to go forward no matter what. That you're going to be your own superhero. You're going to make your own luck. It's really just that simple. And you just cannot give up. You have to make the decision that this is the way it's going to be. You're going to be a beast. You're going to be a worker. You're going to be focused. You're going to use all the gifts that God has blessed you with. And you just keep on going, my friend. Good luck to you, by the way. Freedom for all. Tim, it's good to see you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did hear that. Fani did have her dress on backwards. I thought that was interesting. I heard somebody chatting about that. All righty. Thank you for the advertising there. There we go. Okay. I was X twice under. All right. Thank you all. I'm glad you'll have a nice conversation with everyone. I think that's good. I always want to have a family. We're a YouTube family. We're a family of free-minded individuals. Yeah, and I don't care if someone. I mean, maybe I do care. I don't like being called a racist. I don't like it. I do care. Kasparov, I do care. I don't think anybody, or I say most people, you don't care, but I think it's just inappropriate. It's just not what we should do. And I think if everybody just chooses to ignore the legacy media and what they say or don't say or what drama they create, I think we're all better off as a result of that. So let me see if I see any JR is trans. You ain't gonna win an argument. I'm not sure what that means. It's trans. Okay, well, whatever. And let's see. Dandy Daddy and a Black Panther. Yeah, I've heard all kinds of little funny little deals right here. All right, it's looking good. I don't see anything major. Thank you all for correcting me on a lot of stuff or pointing out stuff. That makes it easy for me. Yeah, Emmy, I appreciate this. Fani needs to go to jail herself and take the James. Yeah, Sweetie out of New York. I agree. What a show that was, right? One day soon, I'm going to go live and we're going to talk about our friend Engoron up in New York City. He really has some colorful past. He's taken, I don't know if you want to call them nude shots of himself, but of his torso and his stomach, and he posts them all over the internet. Imagine a guy, and there's nothing wrong with being a cabbie. This guy is a former cab driver. Imagine that a former cabbie, nothing wrong with being a cabbie, don't misunderstand me, but a guy that's taking pictures of his body like this is the individual in charge of dismantling a man's $10 billion empire that he built. Just an absolute outrage. I do think most people honestly see what's going on. I think even most Democrats knows what's going on. They may not care, but they know exactly what's going on. So, okay, this looks good. Let's go ahead and let's dive into some of this funny stuff that was going on with Fani Willis yesterday. Her stuff was just nuts as to her behavior. I agree. I don't know why she was not in jail. Yeah, I appreciate the chat again. That's it's one thing about them super chats; they do stick out. I know that's the reason, or one of the reasons they offer them. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm a fan of his policy. I think that's a good point too. I have no problem with that. I think that when Trump first came down that escalator, I'm going to be perfectly straight with you. I was not a Trump supporter. No way. Don't think I can honestly tell you that I liked about Trump for whatever reason. And this is going to sound surprising. I liked his kids. I thought for a man that is that wealthy, his kids are very poised, very intelligent. They got it going together. I mean, let's be straight about it. A lot of times when you see somebody very famous and very wealthy in the news and they have kids, their kids are in the news because they're strung out on drugs. They've been arrested for some kind of crazy illicit activity. Just it's generally something negative. You generally don't hear about someone's kids on the news for something positive. For example, President Biden. I'm just telling you, they generally are not. But whatever you say about Donald Trump, love him, don't love him, he seems like he's done a good job raising his kids. I had a friend one time tell me, well, he was never there for his kids. And I'm like, hey, listen, all I can tell you, I don't know if he was, I don't know if he wasn't. But based on results, all of his kids look like high functioning adults that are contributing members of society. Just the way I see it. I could be wrong. Now, since then, obviously, I have changed my opinion about him substantially. Do I like everything he says? No, absolutely not. Do I think he could handle things a little better? Yes, I do. But I also point out to people the following. I'm not electing him to be Pope. He's not Mr. Congeniality. I'm not electing him to be an ambassador or to have any other type of position where you need to be kind and sweet and more gentle or whatever. We're electing him to, if he's elected again, when you go and you vote for Donald Trump, you want a leader. You want somebody that the Russians believe will push the button, just like Ronald Reagan. That's the first thing you got to do is convince the Russians that you will do what has to be done to protect our great country and to protect our people. If they think you're a Jimmy Carter, if they think you are a Joe Biden, what you see today is what you get. It's really just that simple. So someone like Donald Trump that thinks outside of the box and gets results is the person that we need for the job. A quick example of this is he has been taking a ton of heat for telling NATO that, hey, effectively, if you don't pay your bills, I'm going to tell Russia to do what the hell they want to. You hear the news here in the States all jumping on him for that. Well, if you get on YouTube and you start looking at, there's a news program, I think it's called Vantage or something out of India. They do a lot of reporting all over the world. Obviously, it's an English station, and they're reporting how Europe is now starting to take their security very serious. All of a sudden, they're writing checks. They are restating their commitment to hand over 2% of their GDP, gross domestic product, like they were supposed to. Trump did that before when he was in office the first time. First time he was in office, he made comments, similar, let's just say similar comments. And as a result, more money was coming in the car. Well, why should we pay for all that? Why should it be our responsibility to always write the check? We're already in debt, $37 trillion. Why should we be doing that? I agree with him. If you want our help and you want our protection, then honor your commitment. You made a commitment to pay 2% of your GDP. If you don't pay it, the hell with you. I totally agree. And listen, look at the results. Based on results, it's having an effect. This man is a genius. Look at the Israel crisis. While Trump was in office, he was the first guy that said, forget the Palestinian people, just forget the Gaza folks. They don't want peace. Everybody was like, oh, no. Before you have peace, you have to deal with this Gaza stuff. Yeah, it's the first thing you got to do. Well, Trump said, no. He come up with the Abraham Accords, him and his son or his son-in-law, that Kirshner guy, Jared Kirshner. And they were on the road to peace. They already had several peace agreements, and they were like this close to peace with Saudi Arabia. And that is also still within reach because Saudi Arabia desperately wants to be a continued ally of the United States like it has been since the 1930s. And they want to go ahead and make peace with Israel because they want to make the whole region more stable because they are scared to death of, anybody got a guess? Iran. They're both Muslim countries, but there's two different factions. You got the Sunni and you got the Shiites, and they do not like each other. They are kind of at a quiet state of war with each other. But make no mistake about it. When Trump says something like that, he knows what he's saying. He knows why he's saying it, and you won't hear the legacy media talk about it. But baby, the money is coming into the treasury of the Department of NATO. You can't very well fight a war if you don't have the money, you don't have the funding. Now, them countries over there, Trump scared the bejesus out of them, and they're writing a check, baby. Cash that, sir, because they don't want to. They don't want to be left behind when Putin's on the PO'd path and he's out slashing and burning. So, thank you, Michael X. I appreciate that. All right, let's take a look at my next little thing agenda. I want to show you Fani Willis's behavior in court. It's just absolutely outrageous, and at the same time, we get to see the witness that actually took the stand against her. This woman was a ex-friend of hers, and this, if this case is successful, this is going to be the reason it's successful in having her removed, because a friend that was like a girlfriend of hers, if you will, not really a best friend, but a friend, came to court. She was very reluctant to be there. She didn't want to be there. She didn't want to do this. But anyway, she showed up, and let's hear what she had.
More big moments from the Fani hearing. First soundbite, the friend who blew up the timeline on the love affair. Watch.
Did you observe them do things that are common among people having a romantic relationship?
Yes.
Such as, can you give us an example?
Hugging, kissing, just affection.
All before November 1st of 2021, correct?
Yes.
And Fani snapped back at that.
I have not spoken to Robin in over a year. I certainly do not consider her a friend now. I think that she, there's a saying, no good deed goes unpunished. And I think that she betrayed our friendship.
Robin is dead to me, says Fani. Greg?
I just thought of a great idea for The View. The segment's called "What You Talking About, Willis?" with Fani, and she gives like financial and relationship advice, and the answers are roughly 3.5 hours long. I keep thinking, like, why did she get away with it? And I think it's because she assumes she can get away with it because she's gotten away with it before. If you treat her like anybody else, you'll be called a bigot. So it's just that she's got the attitude that, like, I can do whatever I want in a courtroom. Jesse, if you were in there, do you think you would last that long?
I would be a shell of myself.
You would be emasculated.
I would be emasculated.
You'd be an emasculated white man.
But
you'd be on the bus under contempt on the way to the county jail.
Yeah.
She rolled into court. She's not supposed to be listening to testimony. She's supposed to be sequestered. But the minute he ended, Wade, she busted into the courtroom while her own team was saying, no, we don't want to call her as a witness. Oh, she's going to that stand, Judge. Do you think that paid off or not?
No, because she came in and everybody went, whoa. She was angry. She was hostile. She wasn't just argumentative. I mean, she took people on. You're lying. Your papers are lying. And then with Robin, one of the things about Robin, and her testimony is so important, when she says, they were together, I know because I gave her my condo, or she rented the condo, or whatever it was. She said, I saw them hugging and kissing, and she told me that they were in a relationship. But more than that, I mean, this Robin came across as like a normal person. This one is coming across as an ideologue when she starts talking about protecting and defending democracy. And I think one of the reasons she came in like fire was because Wade was horrible.
Right.
Wade was sweating bullets by the time the questioning ended. And then he starts talking about the fact when they say, where do you put your cash? And he says, well, I don't want to say it because I don't want people to break into my house. You just said it. I mean, both of them had the same line. You don't want people to break into your house. And by the way, the dumbest thing that Wade said was he said, people, just as you said, people come in and give me cash all the time. I'm a defense attorney. Really? The FBI, the IRS has a target on your back. I mean, that's the dumbest thing you could say. And then with the business and the personal, okay, you made $300,000 in 1 year from Fani's office, right? No, I didn't. I only made $9,500 a month. No, you made $300,000. No, I had to put it in the firm account so everybody gets a third. Are you stupid? And you got $300,000. No, I only got $100,000. I only got $95,000 a month after expenses. I wish I could figure that out and just say to the government, no, I only made this much because after you take 50% of what I own, I only made this much.
Right. And then he wouldn't submit any of the documentation to prove that he transferred the funds to his other two partners, Dana.
I think that if you could play the intro shot of call for number 3, where the judge, I just feel for the judge in this case.
Let's hear the judge. And
Yeah,
then let's
I do.
hear Dana.
Okay.
We all know what professionalism looks like, what decorum looks like, and devoting ourselves to the rule of law and proper advocacy. I would urge everyone to keep those principles in mind, starting with the fact that we won't talk over each other.
The reason I feel for him is I'm thinking that he's watching this whole thing going, I did not think that I was going to be presiding over a series of guiding light in my courtroom. And
anyone who sits on a grand jury and indicts Donald Trump, you impugn their character. So
Well,
I'm
she
just used
impugned her own
to.
character.
I'm not.
Remember her?
Remember the googly eyes?
I don't remember
Jessica's
the Wiccan or
crazy.
whatever.
Here she is walking in mad. I think the judge was on he was thinking about either severely limiting her testimony or not even having her testify, but she was lit. She was mad and she said, I'm going to be there. And so you're seeing what's happened. So watch her posture and someone said her dress is on backwards. If you care to look, help yourself. But at any rate,
She's a Wiccan.
She was crazy.
And she's
Wiccans
googly
are
eyed.
real people too. Well, I'm being
Okay.
told we have to go, but not because we're talking about Wiccans. Anyway, this is very serious, and I'm very worried we are not going to actually see the former president get his days in court before America has to go and potentially vote for somebody.
she's not exactly the most Trump loving person, that reported right there on Fox, but she is interesting to listen to sometimes. So let's sum it up exactly what we witnessed in this little mini trial so far. When Fani Willis's father took the stand, the most hilarious takeaway is after all of that testimony, at the very end, I believe it was Ashley Merchant asked him, did you prepare? Did you talk to anybody? Did you hear your daughter's testimony? And he's like, oh yeah, of course I did. We were all in the same office together. Kaboom. That's the end of the case, folks. I mean, it's the end of his testimony. And of course, they stated objections, and the judge pretty well said, and I'm paraphrasing. He said essentially he's not going to consider what the father said because it's pretty well just a cover for his daughter. As a father, you're going to generally do what you can to help your kid out, and it was clear that that's exactly what happened because he came in there and he parroted exactly what Fani Willis said, and I believe he was brought in to show two things: that he never seen Nathan Wade and Fani Willis together trying to refute the first witness testimony. And the second thing he was trying to help her with is, yeah, I taught my daughter and I raised her up to keep money in the house. Because I want you all to understand this. If you believe what they're trying to stick down our throats here, and as far as this relationship, you would have to believe that despite the friend and the girl from college saying otherwise, you'd have to believe that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade never had a sexual relationship until after November 1st, 2021. You would have to believe that she hired him without going through the proper procedures of going to Fulton County for permission first. And she did that not because Nathan Wade was her boyfriend, paramour, or lover, but that she just felt the need to do it because he was the perfect man for the job and she had to go ahead and write this contract. She also has stated before that she paid the 3 prosecutors the same, and of course that is a lie, but you would also have to believe this. Fani Willis states, and Nathan Wade are stating, that Fani Willis never received any type of benefit, financially or otherwise, as a result of their relationship and the fact that Nathan Wade has agreed to take this case. Remember, depending on the published report, Nathan Wade has been paid to date $728,000 up to $1 million. Nathan Wade's little law firm has not made that type of money. All the records that I have went through and looked, no way. As a matter of fact, in sworn testimony, Nathan Wade said something to the effect of he was making $15,000 a year, something real low. That's what he submitted in his interrogatories. We'll take a look at that and make sure I'm correct in the next 2 or 3 days. As I get time, we'll take a look at it together. But this is what he has said under oath. What they're trying to do. So you got to remember, these people are used to prosecuting financial crimes, white-collar criminals. So they realize that they're in trouble. They realize that if Fani Willis received any kind of benefit from this case, she's in trouble. She has to be taken off the case at a minimum. And in all likelihood, they have engaged in what's called honest service fraud, which is basically that the vendor is enriching the person that gave them the contract by proxy. It's, again, honest service fraud. The proxy, of course, is Nathan Wade essentially finding a way to give his lover, Fani Willis, money. So what they have concocted is this story that says, hey, every time we went out to eat, every time we took these cruises together, we went to the Napa Valley, we went on 2 or 3 trips to Tennessee, we had a couple love shacks around town that of course, they weren't love shacks, they were just a place to lay our head. That you would have to believe that every single time Fani Willis reimbursed Nathan Wade in cash, you would have to believe that she always had that cash with her, because at times it's a lot of money that Nathan Wade spent on her. There is no record of the money going into any bank account. There's no record of that money in cash coming out of a bank account. And there is no cash receipt that Nathan Wade wrote Fani Willis saying, hey, here's your receipt for the expenses for this or for whatever. So in other words, there's no paper trail. And Nathan Wade has a history of this. I have some other videos, hopefully we'll get into one of these days, that is essentially Nathan Wade in prior years saying the same thing. Oh, I don't have any attorney work product. Yeah, the work product's in my head. They just say that stuff because they don't want to have any evidence that would allow for them to be hung for their crimes. I've said it earlier. My understanding from just listening to the tea leaves, if you will, and listening to other reports I've heard from other individuals that work with these people, they have been doing this for quite some time. They got basically their own little scheme going on down there in the Fulton County District Attorney's office. It normally is what you call water cooler chat, just a little chit chat. They've got a vendor here and a vendor there, and Fani Willis is lining her pockets. That's what I've heard. I think that's what some of the evidence shows, and it definitely shows it in this particular case. It's really hard. I had one of our friends here on this channel sent me an email and essentially said, hey, how can I explain this to friends on social media that are saying Fani Willis is great, blah, blah, blah? How do I explain it? Well, it's real simple. If the allegations are true, and we know the relationship is true because it's been admitted in sworn testimony, what I believe has happened is you had Fani Willis hire her boyfriend, paid him a ton of money and didn't have permission to do so, paid him 3-4 times as much as any other prosecutor. And in return, her boyfriend, Nathan Wade, has been enriching Fani Willis by giving her maybe cash. We don't know. We do know there was cash going back and forth by their own testimony, but she definitely has been enriched by trips, by vacations, by meals, by whatever. That's it in a nutshell. So she can take down, in her mind, Donald Trump, become famous in the history books for all of history, and at the same time, they both become very wealthy individuals and make a name for themselves as the people that stopped our ability to vote for Donald Trump. That's exactly what's going on here. It's a scheme. There's a name for that. It's called corruption. And I personally hope they both get what they have coming to them. You cannot have corruption in a society like this because it will undermine the society as a whole. If you don't believe that, just look back at the Roman Empire. That's exactly what happened to them, at least in part. You just cannot have a situation to where you allow and you tolerate corruption in your society. It's just that simple, folks. I also want to point out real quick, it looks like, I appreciate, by the way, Slap Happy. Thank you for supporting me. I appreciate that. I did see your contribution to me down there. Thank you so much. It is definitely my pleasure for y'all to join me today. So, folks, I appreciate everybody has joined me. I will try to come on again tomorrow, and we will chit chat. I want to tell you, thank you for taking time to have a conversation with me. It's truly my pleasure. It humbles me. So, I want to say what I always say. Keep that mind free. Never give up. And until next time, my friends, I am J.R. Dukes.